personal records, national records, area records, and yes, even world records. They all fell in a little town called Ramona, Oklahoma. This is our recap of the 2025 Throwtown World Invitational. All this and more on this week's Throw Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Throws Show. Whoa. It's the Throw Show. I am, of course, your host, Jason Kuhn. Here to break down the throws with me this week, as always, is the People's Champ, Team Fire Me Up himself, Olympic trials competitor, and yes, of course, he is the head throws coach of youth development at Throws University and Garage Strength. We have Mr. / Coach Sam Weeks.
Yes, sir.
Sam, I'm tired. As you probably know from previous throw shows and the intro, you know where Sam and I have been the last few days this weekend. We just wrapped up the 2025 Throwtown World Invitational in Ramona, Oklahoma. And, oh my gosh, the results, the throws that we saw this past weekend, Sam, we didn't just witness like one piece of history. We witnessed probably a dozen pieces of history all in 4 days.
Absolutely. This weekend was out of this world. Like, you actually can't write a script of how this weekend went.
So to kind of give a brief synopsis about what my role in the weekend was, so I was part of our broadcast team. I was working the handheld camera that got all those close-up shots of the athletes after they took their throws. If you haven't yet, we have live streams of every single event that happened Friday through Sunday. We had some technical errors on Thursday, admittedly. We actually lost power halfway through the day, so we weren't able to get the main Discus stream from the men and the women that evening. But I did record those videos, so expect to see that Thursday comp, which honestly, before Sunday, was the greatest discus competition in the history of the world.
Absolutely.
So you get to see the greatest discus competition in the history of the world and the second greatest discus competition in the history of the world. Expect the second one in the next few days on the Throws University YouTube channel. But before we get into the weekend, I just want to thank our sponsors for supporting us, supporting the event, supporting Throwtown, Roadie Sport, Fiber Sport Discus from Bruce Caldwell, and of course the main sponsor, Thrower X / Throws Pro from Scott Capos, and even the Throw Big Throw Far team. And as I get into the Throw Big Throw Far team, they actually did commentary for us the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. Dan McQuaid, Coach Joe Frontier, the Throw Big Throw Far podcast were the voices of the weekend, and they were the voices of the throwing community. They shared the passion. They told the stories. They exceeded expectations in such a way that I don't really know what else to say to them outside of just thank you for what not only they did for the stream, but what they did for the community and the world at large to tell these athlete stories. Dan did I think at least 10 different interviews in between the events. You see them up on screen right now. If you ever happen to see Dan McQuaid or Joe Frontier at a competition and you're watching the Throw Show, please say hello. They're the nicest guys possible. They did such a phenomenal job. I am excited to work with them again in the future. I just couldn't ask for a better commentary team. But the live stream would not have been possible without the whole team. Mm-hmm. And that would be Will, Sheldon, Caden, Domingo, myself, and of course, our lead director, producer, Andrew Saylor. This has been a project that's been going on for almost 3 months now. And if you notice this picture outside of our commentators, you probably notice that everyone looks fairly young. The entire broadcast crew, the median age was 23.
Yeah.
Literally college students banded together to pull off one of the most important broadcasts in the history of the sport. And I'm happy to say that the broadcast is doing quite well for the men's discus on the YouTube sphere and YouTube analytics, which bodes greatly for the future of the sport. Mm-hmm. Basically proving out there is an audience for throwing.
Absolutely.
There's an audience for throwing that wants to see big throws. They want to see these athletes' stories told. And I got nothing but positive feedback from the weekend from the athletes that were there. We got a lot of positive feedback on social media. Sam, you were running social media the whole weekend. What was your perspective from just that aspect of the event?
Yeah, so first, before I get into that, I want to shout out X-Force. That's our production crew. You know, they really busted their tails to get these videos out and make sure that, you know, the community could watch history be made. So I just want to shout out all those guys. Like J-Dog was mentioning, I was on social media outside of when I was competing. And the big thing is, you know, just sharing all the results that happen as quick as possible. You know, like when Alekna broke the world record twice, I want to make sure that people saw that. You know, for the people who weren't tuning in to the live stream, you know, I want to make sure that they could see that. But I also want to give them a different perspective. Like if you watch the videos, which we'll go over soon, mm-hmm. you can see that I was standing roughly around like 3 o'clock. But in doing so, I could get videos of the throwers, and then I could track the discus as well. So I really want to make sure that, you know, that visual was, you know, given to the community. So, you know, I think the community is fed.
Yeah, they are fed. And I'm going to have to keep making some more shout outs. I also want us to do a shout out to Total Running Productions, Andrew Martin. He did a whole video on Alekna's world record, which we'll be getting to shortly during this episode. And he basically shouted out Throws University. He didn't have to do that, but he did a phenomenal job covering what that mark means to the history of the event in relation to last year. And I think that's the one thing you're going to notice about watching these streams back is the depth of talent this year is just insane compared to last year. And one thing I'll bring up as we get closer to covering the men's discus, a prediction that you and I made last episode actually came true. And to be honest, that was a prediction that him and I were kind of like, yo, that would be crazy if it happened. But it actually happened.
Yeah.
And before I get into our first throw of the day, I also just need to send a special thank you to the guys who run Throwtown, because this event isn't possible without Don Milliken and Caleb Seal of Seal Throwing Club. They're the guys who ran this whole event. Like, Throwtown would not exist without Don and Caleb.
Yeah.
And I was seeing Caleb run across the field so many different times. He was setting everything up. Don even competed in the competition on Thursday. It was just amazing to see how two guys came together, made this whole event possible, made the whole facility possible, doing what no person has ever done to the level that they've done it in the history of the sport. And I think what the big coming away thing I came from the weekend was, we literally had the whole community come together. Mm-hmm. I had a meeting with our commentators prior about how, you know, different portions of the throwing community are on islands. You have different college coaches, different college programs. You also have different private companies that, you know, do various coaching for athletes across the United States. But for one weekend, we all joined together on the same team. And that team was to improve our sport, to make it better, to highlight the greatest athletes in the world, and basically show the world how fun this sport can be. Mm-hmm. And my last shout out, because I know we need to get into the show, is for Kara Winger. She did a phenomenal job being a flight coordinator, organizing all of the athletes to make sure that each competition was run as smoothly as possible. Like, people don't understand how hard that job can be. Yeah. And she did it for every single event. And we're talking like 8 to 12 hour days. Like this is stuff that's not easy. And we had such a small team, but we pulled it off to such a grand standard that I thought is competitive to a world championship level event. And I think we lived up to that standard. So for everyone involved, also the officials, everyone who made the event possible, thank you.
Big thank you. Because
we couldn't have done it without you. And there's so many names that we just don't have time to name that have an influence that people don't even realize. And we hope we can do it again next year. We hope we can make it even bigger and better. We hope we can get even more talent. And in my mind, the sky's the limit for the sport, and this is proof of that.
Absolutely.
So let's get into the first throw of the weekend. Oh, who's that? Who's that?
Yo, that. All right, now you're bugging.
Our first thrower of the weekend is, of course, my boy, Coach Sam Weeks. We called it last episode. He had the People's Toss in Throwtown in front of the People's crowd. Sam, you threw 60 meters for the first time, not once, but twice. Sam, how are you feeling? How you feel about that throw? How you feel about the weekend?
Right now, I'm happy. It was a very cool moment, especially, doing it in front of the People's crowd. But just having so many of the top athletes cheering for me in that moment was just like out of this world. I think in the moment, I had a mini panic attack. I actually forgot how to breathe. You can kind of see it in this video where, like, when I walk out, I kind of just, like, pause there. In my mind, that pause was, like, 5 minutes. But in reality, it was, like, 3 seconds. But it was just, like, a stress reliever. I was just, like, so relieved to finally break that 60-meter barrier. Because, I've been working since 2017 to break that barrier. And it finally happened. And I think in the moment, like I said, I kind of had like a panic attack. It was just like, I didn't know how to react, but it was just like, all right, I finally broke 60, but job isn't finished. Like I gotta, keep the pedal on the metal. Job's not finished. Pedal on the metal and just keep trying to execute my technique in the circle, because that was my main priority, and just keep trying to be consistent with my series, which I was fairly consistent, but I was able to better my overall PR, and I threw 60.87 to finish off the day.
I think one thing that's a big takeaway here is what you said about you've been chasing this since 2017. That's 8 years of constant grinding, work ethic, improving your craft. And to me, I think you as a coach, that should be the main takeaway for other throwers, but also like young high school throwers, that like if they don't see results right off the bat, that they can do it. Like you just got to know what your goals are and keep trying to get better and improve your understanding of the sport, which is, I know you have. Like you are not the same athlete you were 8 years ago.
No, and I agree. And, I call myself the people's champ because, like, I'm not the biggest, I'm not the strongest, I'm not the heaviest, but it's like I keep going. I'm literally Rock Lee for people who watch Naruto. Like, I refuse to give up, and I refuse to let people, put me in this box where it's like, no, like, I'm going to work harder than some. I'm not. There are a lot of people who work hard, but it's like, I'm gonna work hard because I believe in myself. I know there are far throws in the tank, and it's just like I gotta put myself in that perspective, or I gotta put myself in that zone to get there. And it's like, for the average kid, you can take me as an example and just keep building, keep trusting in your coach, or if you have a program from throwsuniversity.com, by me. You can get there. It's going to take a little bit of time, and it's going to take some hard work and, effort, but it's very doable. And I think this weekend, proves that.
100%. And I think the thing that I'll say as, someone who's watched the sport for over 1 to 2 decades almost at this point, like, and this is me being as objective as possible, I know there's way more in the tank. Like, I know this isn't the mountaintop for Sam Weeks. There's still way more to put into the sport. We know you got way more there.
Yeah.
So we're starting off with Emanuel Souza of Portugal to break the Portuguese national record in the same competition you competed in where you PR'd, throwing over 67 meters for the first time. I've watched this guy throw before, and if there's a definition of a wiry thrower, it's Emanuel Souza.
100%.
This guy, he is pretty thin, but if you're talking about a guy who just has like pure explosive energy and power, this guy can just rip it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this guy throw, and like, he's fairly young. As he sticks with it, I think this is a guy who could end up throwing 70 one day. What'd you think of Emmanuel's throw?
Absolutely. So, like you said, Emmanuel was in the same competition as myself, and just watching his throws, like, I agree. Like, he's super, super wiry. He's doing the Denny start, but I feel like with that, like, he just, goes through technique. He's nice and long. He gets to his power position super quick and just explodes into the finish. Like, in this competition, he had a couple, like, big fouls. This one was 68 and some change, but, like, he had throws that were just, like, going out there, and he was really attacking the finish. And, like, these are the competitions where you really got to attack.
Yeah.
And he was doing that, both days, and he established a new national record.
67.51 for Souza. Incredible mark, but that was just the beginning of the weekend. So the next throw we're covering is going to be a new New Zealand national record, and that is going to be from Connor Bell. Connor was here last year, broke the New Zealand national record, throwing 68.10. And my personal interactions of Connor, he is probably one of the nicest people I've met in the throwing community. As soon as I walked up to the event area, day one, he like immediately recognized me, said, "Hey, how's it going, world's strongest video editor?" And I'm like, "Bro, do you follow me?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course I do." And I'm like, I haven't posted in 5 years. Mm-hmm. So that's just a testament to the character of Connor Bell. But if you're like a discus technician, you need to watch Connor's throw. This guy has sometimes what I think is near perfect movement in the throw. Another national record, 68.38. This video comes from us from the great Dan McQuaid. Sam, what do you got to say on this throw? Connor had a great weekend on Thursday.
Yeah, I think this first competition, Connor was very relaxed, very smooth, and I feel like that really translated into his technique and put him in a position to establish, that new record. I agree with what you said. I think Connor is very, very smooth, and for any athlete who really wants to dive deeper into, creating a high point, I feel like this angle of Connor's toss is a really good angle to show you like when to work from a low to a high to a low, and then back to a high on the finish. So I definitely agree. I think Connor is a really good technician, and this is a really good toss to learn from.
So we're gonna go rapid fire, ladies and gentlemen, as we go into so many throws. This is just the Thursday competition we're covering right now, and again, that video will be up in the next few days on the Throws University YouTube channel. But Mika Sosna, he went huge at Ramona last year, throwing almost 69 meters. He goes huge again day one, throwing over 70 meters for the first time, 70.05. Mika is still 22, maybe 23, and he's already thrown 70 meters.
Yeah, dude, that dude was balling out this whole weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, his preparation led him to this moment. Like, I follow him on IG, and like he posts a lot of his training stuff. And, like, you could see, like, he's been in good shape for, like, quite a while. And today, or not today, but, like, this first competition, like, he really showed off, like, all the preparation to that point.
Yeah, and it was, like, showing 70 meters. He's the world U20 record holder over 71 meters at the 175. Mm-hmm. And when you think about how young he is, and I think the thing that I love about Mika, he attacks every throw like it's his last.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason where it's like, you need this level of aggression, like you said, when you were competing in a comp like this in order to get the marks you're searching for.
Absolutely.
But man, oh man, This was a moment for both you and I that we managed to be there live for. You know, I've been working with Sam in some regards since about 2016 or so. He's been working with Dane. So it's coming up 9 years that Sam Mattis has been working with Dane Miller at Garage Strength. And after that 9 years of hard work, ethic, multiple world championships, multiple Olympic games, Sam Mattis finally walks into Ramona for the first time, first ever meet, and throws 70 meters, 70.08.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only so much I can say about the technique here. Sam himself says he's not a huge fan of his finish on this throw.
Mm-hmm.
But from an emotional perspective of what led to this moment, what do you think about this throw? And you managed to capture this awesome reaction. How'd you feel seeing Sam throw 70 for the first time and the mark coming up on the board?
Yeah, that boy balled out. You know, it was like one of those things where I have the privilege to I train with Sam, so I get to see, you know, his training firsthand, and, you know, through all the ups and downs, it just he prepared. You know, he's been training, you know, East Coast, West Coast. He's been going back and forth, but he's been getting a lot of good throws, and I definitely think, you know, his trips to the West Coast, you know, being in the sun really kind of elevated his preparation and just put him in a spot where he could go big. Because last week he PR'd. He threw 68 high.
76.
Yeah, 76. So, like, he was in really, really good shape. And obviously going to Ramona, like, you know, the wind is going to help. Like, no one's saying it's not going to help. But, like, he was in really good shape. And he went out and he balled out. He threw over 70, you know. So it was good to see, but I knew that there was more in the tank, and we'll find out what happened.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This isn't going to be the last time you see Sam on the show, because he threw even further only 3 days later. And speaking of another person who threw further 3 days later, we have what at the time was 10 centimeters short of the world record, as Matthew Denny opens up his Throwtown campaign for the weekend. He threw 72 meters the prior week to set a new Oceania record, breaking Alex Rose's original mark of 71.48, to now throwing 74.25. These are marks that aren't supposed to exist, that I would never think to say out loud only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we now have not one but two men actively throwing 74 meters.
Yep.
We knew Matt was in shape to go big. Did you think Matt was in shape to go this big?
That's a good question. I think I want to say yes, but I also think it was kind of a surprise. Like, let's be real. Like, Denny has been the most consistent athlete at major championships in the last couple years.
Yes.
So, like, it's no surprise that he came into this competition in really good shape. You know, I believe he's had a few competitions already, and I'm pretty sure he's gone, you know, 68 plus in, you know, those competitions, or, you know, high 60s at least. But in this competition, all of his throws were over 70 meters.
Yep.
So it was like, you know, watching him progress, it was like, it was a given. He was going to throw far regardless. And I believe he is the first individual to have all 6 throws over 70 meters.
Yeah, because I think maybe Alekna had a foul last year. So you're probably right about that.
I think he's the only one. Yeah.
Wow. I have one little story to say about Denny. So you and I had the privilege to have dinner with him at one of the strangest restaurants I've ever been in. It was like a chicken and beer fast food, but also not kind of place. And the thing I noticed about Denny was he looks noticeably bigger than he was even at the Olympics last year.
Yeah.
And I remember he like bumped into me. I like walked into his back. Like, I've walked around really big athletes. Like, I at one point stood next to Hafthor Bjornsson. This man's back is like a brick wall of just solid. Like, there's no give. That's the best way I could describe it. There's no give in this man. This dude is just solid muscle. And I was watching this event and I was thinking, like, before, I'm like, oh yeah, Matthew, you know, he'll throw 72, maybe 73 based on his performance the previous week. Because the reality is Matt never threw over 70 in stadium. He never threw 70 before the last 2 weeks. But after watching this particular throw, I was like, this man could throw 76 meters.
He could, yeah.
And I still believe that.
Yeah.
And from what we saw with Alekna later in the week, we now know that is actually possible for a human to do.
Absolutely.
So this is just a taste of what we were going to see on Sunday. Another view, this was Sam's view. You can kind of even see the flight of the implement on this throw. Like, gosh, if you have the chance to be at Ramona and watch a 70-plus meter throw fly, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it's in the air forever. It's actually crazy.
So as we continue with our Thursday comp, like the garage strength athletes went off, and CeCe Onia Lyons threw the second best throw of her life, 64-12. This was so awesome to see because CeCe's been chasing to get back in that kind of shape for the last 2 years now. Seeing her do it again. Sam, what'd you think when you saw 64 pop up on the board?
Yeah, CeCe balled out.
CeCe balled out.
For those who are very familiar with CeCe, CeCe will sometimes throw it down the sector, so it's kind of like you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But CeCe was locked in on this competitions with majority of her throws right down the middle, and she went big. She got back over that 64 barrier, and she had a great competition. I was watching her through warm-ups, and I was like, oh, like, she's in really, really good shape. And, like I said, all 6 of her tosses, she was balling out, and, she was able to get back over that 64-meter barrier. So, big shout to CeCe.
Huge shout out to CeCe. Well done. And honestly, watching that, the wind was – I think this is one thing that needs to be understood
that's
about.
Another thing.
The Thursday competition.
No wind.
There was no wind in the women's competition. This was just
wind.
All CeCe being a badass.
I felt so bad for the women in this competition because there was zero wind. Like,
and it was also 7 o'clock at night.
Yes, it was late. Later, I don't know if we have any videos, but it was pitch dark. They were throwing in dark. Caleb had to get lights. He had to use his truck. Like, it was kind of crazy, but there was zero wind. And I felt so bad for these women because, like, I competed that same day, and I got, pretty nice wind.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, like, this is a perfect day. Like, it's low-key. Like, it's not part of the World Invite. And their competition came up, zero wind. But a lot of women still took advantage and balled out, even though there was no wind.
Talk about a good shot. You and I are camera people, but, like, that golden hour shot.
Oh, yeah, it was sick.
It was beautiful.
It was sick.
But you were talking about being like, this is, further along in the competition, it's getting progressively more dark. But, another garage strength discus thrower, Gabby Jacobs, sets a new personal best, 63.83. Gabby reminds me so much of CeCe in that they're just super wired throwers.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so twitchy. And, this is Gabby's best day of the weekend. I know you were talking to Gabby quite a bit throughout the weekend. How'd she feel about this throw?
She was ecstatic about this throw.
Yeah.
It was a big PR for her, and she just cranks it. She gets to her power position, just cranks. And, it's like one of those throws where it's like, dude, she threw this far with, like, minimal wind. Yeah. So it's like, obviously we were like, oh, like, come Saturday, like, you're going to go crazy. Saturday didn't really, go out as planned, but it's like one of those things where it's like, dude, if you could throw this far with no wind and it being late at night, just imagine in a competition where you have better conditions, outside of that Saturday competition. But it's like, dude, like, she's in really good shape, and I know she's gonna ball out later this year.
And I think one thing is the confidence that she can have is that she did this in a fairly dead air situation. That's good preparation for nationals.
Yeah,
it's not the most ideal circumstance, but she still balled out, did what needed to be done. And honestly, a mark like this could do serious damage at nationals.
Absolutely.
But, Alita Vanalen had a good day. She hit the world championship standard, 65-11 out of Florida. Mm-hmm. Her brother's making some noise on the international stage as a junior. And she actually did commentary. I'm not sure if you knew this. She did commentary for the first flight of the men's discus on Sunday.
I didn't know that.
So I learned from Dan McQuaid and Joe Frontier that she actually wants to get into media and broadcast.
Oh.
So they welcomed her to do commentary. I still need to watch through that competition. I haven't been able to see all the live streams yet since we were filming them. But I heard nothing but great things, and a 65-meter throw to start off the weekend. Can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's 65. From what I remember, she was, in the lower 60s for, a few of the rounds. And then I forget which round this was, but everything just lined up.
Yeah.
CeCe was winning for majority of the competition. And then she just went in there and just lined one up and just smacked a big one for a huge PR. So it was nice to see. It was, you couldn't ask for anything better.
I loved Alita's finish. She stays so grounded, so long on this discus. Like, I think give her a couple years, she might be in the conversation for like where Val is sort of now, or at least Val and Jaime of like, I think she's a future 70-meter thrower at this event.
Yeah.
So not only was discus going on this weekend at Ramona, but we had all 4 throwing events going on. The shot put, the javelin, but the hammer throwers had something to say about this being the weekend for the discus. As Minnesota's hammer team, the Gopher Hammer squad went all out as Costas and teammate Angelos went 1 and 2, throwing 77-12 and 76-39 respectively. What we're looking at right now is the footage from the actual live stream. These guys put on a show going 1-2 in the men's hammer. And honestly, this was a really fun event to film and watch. Mm-hmm. Seeing both these guys go big, 77-12. Now Kostas went further last week, going over 77-40, but backs it up with 77-12, a strong mark. Here's footage from the other stream. What are you seeing on Kostas' throw here? Lefty hammer thrower. What do you think about that?
Lefty hammer thrower. Same technique, obviously just spinning the other direction. But, both of those guys balled out.
Yeah.
Like, they actually put on a show, for the hammer competition. I was very fortunate. I was able to sit on the bleachers right behind the ring, so I was able to watch firsthand. And those guys were just, like, really feeding into the energy of just the hammer competition as a whole. And then, as they popped off, like, they were really kind of just getting the crowd and, like, the other competitors just, like, a little more amped. And it was just, like, a very fun experience to be around. Like, both of them actually balled out. Like, they threw so far.
Yeah, and I love their reactions. Like, they loved the camera every time that I was up around. So this is actually footage that I was shooting. I was, like, the on-field camera. And it was so exciting, and just seeing the emotion on them. They actually came back and thanked me for, like, the coverage. But, it was awesome to watch. And I was like, dang, this is just the first day of the hammer throw competition, what the discus is going to be like the following day. And, shout out to Angelos going 76-39. Here's another shot that we have of it. Boom.
Yep.
Huge throw. But they weren't the real stars of the hammer throw this weekend, because Rachel Richardson had something to say to the discus throwers and what you could do in the history books.
Mm-hmm.
As she sets a near 4-meter personal best.
Yep.
78-80 to be the 5th farthest thrower in the history of her event. We were watching this, and I could tell as I was filming, like, Rachel's building to something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anyone would have expected a 4-meter personal best. And we actually interviewed her following the competition. Joe Frontier interviewed her on the live stream. She was so emotional, and, like, she was still trying to process what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you can just, I love the reaction here. And this is your video, right?
Yeah, I filmed this. Yeah.
So this is Sam's video, and you could just see the pure joy and elation on her face. Like, what did you think? Did you know that this was going to be a huge mark when you saw it released?
Weirdly enough, like, watching her turns on 3 and 4, I knew that she had something big. And, like, once she released it, I was like, oh yeah, like, that was big. And then once she was like, yeah, let's go, like, that just confirmed the feeling that I had that was going to be a big toss. And then obviously the pop off, like, the whole story, like, it's really cool. And I think the perspective that the people don't see is I was able to film all of Rachel's tosses she asked me to film. And I was watching her build, and I think, like, the first 3 tosses were, like, okay.
Yeah.
There was definitely more in the tank. Like, it seemed like her rhythm just wasn't quite where she wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And then as she went into that toss, like you can see everything just click. Like it was all dialed. As soon as she let go, she knew it was a good toss. We didn't know how far or like how good of a good toss it was, but as soon as she came out, like she knew. And then once the screen said 78, like obviously she popped off. If you watch the video and like the audio, like you can hear me pop off. It was just like a great moment for Rachel. And I think one of the cool things, she has the post on her personal page. All of the throwers from Ashland were watching the live stream and they were popping off. Like it was actually like extremely cool.
Yeah, I'm so glad that like this is why we love throwing.
Yeah.
This right here is like what makes throwing, in my mind, the greatest sport in the world. Just putting everything you can into one single action and then seeing, these 1.5 to 2 seconds of a throw tells a story of someone who spent 10 plus years pursuing their craft to the highest level.
Absolutely.
And, you can't help but get emotional about stuff like that. And one thing that I thought was really cool is, so one of our crew members, Sheldon, had a few of these plastic windows here they put on his camera lens, and he had a few of the top athletes sign them, and he has these camera lenses. So he has Rachel go up and sign it. We had another athlete go up and sign it, that you'll see later. But this was stuff like this where I talked to Sheldon. I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. I guess they do in other sports. He did it at Temple basketball. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, like, we need to do more stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like, just really, and like she shows a little bit of personality. She sticks her tongue out at the end. Like, this is just a cool little thing that I like, okay, we need to do more of this. However we can do it, we need to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this was super cool. And, I thought this was great. Like, I was able to talk to Sheldon. I was like, dude, like, these are the coolest things in the world. Every video that you have, please share it to the world. Because, like, we don't get stuff like this. And I feel like, if we can, highlight these athletes and their performances, like we have to. Like, we got to push that out there. So, big shout out to Sheldon and, great job to Rachel. Yeah,
follow Sheldon. His Instagram's on the screen right now. So give him a follow. He does a lot with Temple basketball and football. A lot of great content that he does for sports media. And this was something that when was brought up to me that we did, Sam Mattis brought this up to me at dinner following the whole event when we had Mac Wilkins take the ceremonial first throw to open up the final competition of the women's discus. Mac Wilkins is a legend. He's been such a great ambassador for the sport for, almost 50 years at this point. We had this little segment to honor him, and it was like a little idea in my head a week ago that I pitched to the team. They're like, hey, can we do this? And everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. You can just see the raw emotion on Mac's face. Like, he's so happy that people remember him, that we did this for him. I think I even asked him for like a little flex. He did the, show of the sign of the shirt. Mac is such a great guy, and if you ever have a chance to meet Mac Wilkins in person, he's such a superhuman being. I'm glad we had the opportunity to honor such a legend event like this. I hope we can do more stuff like this in the future with other throwing legends. Sam, you got to see us live. How was the response from the crowd?
It was the coolest thing. Like, the crowd loved it. And first, or before I move on, it was all J-Dog's idea. This was this man's genius. And the crowd loved it. Like, every thrower loved it. Like, we all love Mac. Like, he's a legend in our sport. So for him to open up, the great competition that the women's put on, I think was probably like the best idea and the best way to kick that competition off.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if we do more events in the future, I really want to try to add more of that into it. Like, because there's so many other events that we could do like legends with, like the shot put, hammer, javelin. Like, I wanted to have Kara open up the javelin. Unfortunately, we had some streaming issues, so we weren't able to do it. But at least in the future, it's something to be on the lookout for, and we hope we can get more legends on board to do it because, unfortunately, the sport isn't the most popular, so they don't really get to be highlighted as much. And we always talk about the current athletes, but realistically, like, this sport's over 100 plus years old, and the legends paved the way for where it is now. Discus throwing would not be what it is today without Mac Wilkins.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mac.
Thank
we
you,
love
Mac.
We love you. So as we get into the women's discus, good Lord, we had so many far throws.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Olrich, on her very first attempt of the day out of Louisville, she threw 66 meters about 2 or 3 weeks ago, goes 69.39, new personal best, NCAA number 2 all time. Huge mark for Jaden. She's an Olympian from last year in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see on this throw, and did you know it was... Were you expecting something special?
Oh, dude, I'm a big fan of Jaden. Anyone who knows me, I'm a big fan of Jaden. I thought she was gonna go dummy, which she did, and I didn't expect it to be her first toss. In one of the interviews that she did after the competition, she was like, "Yeah, like that was one of my easier tosses. Like I wasn't really trying to like throw it hard. I was kind of just like getting a mark, and I feel like just being that relaxed put her in the position where it's like, yo, just do your thing and you're going to throw far. And that's exactly what she did. You know, she just went in there and just stayed relaxed, executed the technique that she always does, and just absolutely dropped a massive toss.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rule. That's a lesson for any any thrower out there is like when you hear throwers all the time saying, it's like, I didn't even feel how good the throw was.
Yeah.
You know, especially in something like as light as a women's discus, so much of it can just be, you need to be loose, you need to be like mobile and just execute your technique, and special things can happen.
Absolutely.
And speaking of special things, from an emotional standpoint, this was the mark that had me feeling some kind of way when I was holding the camera, as Lagi Tasaga really is making her comeback to the sport of throwing after some struggle last year in 2024. She didn't make the Olympic team after winning the world championship. She opened up her season at over 62.50. She knew she was building, but I don't know if she knew she was quite able to build to what she did in Ramona, as she threw over 70 meters for the first time. Mm-hmm. 70 meters, 72. I get a little choked up about this because I just know what Lagi's been through, and to see her do this, you know, what was your take on it? Like, did you know when you saw it release that was super deep?
I think initially, because when she released the discus, she was like, let's go. Yeah. So I was like, okay, it's a good toss.
Yeah.
But then as you start to watch it fly, all of the guys like Joe Brown, Marcus, like they're out there and they're near the 70-meter mark, and they pop off. So it's like, okay, this is a big toss. Like, this is a big toss. So obviously we had to wait to see what the mark was on the screen. And once it hit 70, like, you could see Lagi was just like, you know, filled the motion. Like, everyone was super excited because it's like, we all root for Lagi. Like, Lagi is one of the best women in the U.S. And it's like, obviously she's had a roller coaster of a season the last, you know, year or so. And it's like, it's relieving to see that, you know, she's getting back into, you know, that top shape. And it's a good thing to see. It's good for the sport, you know, because it's going to bring more competition to, you know, competitors like Val or, you know, someone like Jaden. Like, it's just going to make this year more competitive.
100%. Congratulations, Lagi.
Congrats.
That was awesome. But, you know, the girl of the hour, the woman of the hour, we learned over the weekend is a fan of the throw show. So hello, Val, if you're watching, thank you. And Coach Zeb, thank you. She broke the NACAC record set by Jaime last year, which was 73.09, to throw 73.52, new American record, new NACAC record. We knew Val came here. We knew what her goals were.
Yeah.
Her goal was to set that new NACAC record, and she did it. Watching it live, she was so proud, you know, so like she knew when she released it that she had something, you know, her and Coach Zeb just, you know, immediately embraced. They knew what they had, and, you know, she had a job to do and she did the job.
Yeah.
What was your take watching this live? Did you know that it was like, okay, she caught it?
So, okay, watching Val during warm-ups, her warm-up throws were kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, uh-oh. Like, I was like, I don't know. Like, something just didn't seem like correct. Like, it didn't seem right. but she went 69 on her first toss, and once she did that, I was like, all right, she's fine. Like,
she knows how to compete.
Yeah, I was like, all of my worries, me personally, like as a fan, all of my worries are gone.
Yeah,
she's gonna ball out today. After that 69, I was like, okay, she's gonna go far. Like, she's gonna go far. And she was building, and then she just dropped this massive bomb. 73-53, correct?
52.
52, excuse me. 73-52. Like, it was amazing. Like, just watching it fly, it was just like amazing. And like, I think we all kind of knew that Val was going to throw far. I was actually alluding to someone I was talking to the night before. I was like, yeah, dude, I think one of them are probably going to push like that 75 mark. Like, I truly believe that they were going to go dummy far. And, it wasn't 75, but it was 73. And, the furthest throw in a very, very long time outside of, Jaime's toss last year. Like,
well, let's just be real. It's the drug-free world record.
Yes.
Like,
yes. Yes.
I know that the results page doesn't say it's a world record, but if you know anything about the history of track and field, you know that authentically, this is the farthest throw ever by a woman who is not on drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So, congratulations, Val. This was incredible to watch live. My gosh, Sam, we still have so many more throws to talk about. Congrats again, Val.
Congrats, Val.
And one thrower I wanted to highlight because I got to meet her live. I got to shake her hand. We didn't really talk much, but I was so happy to meet her because I've been a fan watching her since I was in high school. Molina Rober Michon, at 45 years old, throws over 64 meters. She's only about 40 centimeters short of her age group world record, which, based off the interview she gave with Dan McQuaid, she's not stopping throwing anytime soon. Yeah. She legitimately just loves this sport and has me thinking, okay, now that she threw at Ramona once, she may have learned, like, okay, this is how you attack the throw to get big marks.
Yeah.
Because I think she was sort of struggling trying to figure out the wind through most of the competition. But when she caught this, she's like, okay, now I got it.
Yeah.
I think she could, bold claim, I think next year at Ramona, or maybe even later this season, depending on where she's at, I think she could set a new personal best. Because her personal best is only like 66 high. 2 meters further than this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree with your statement. She looked like she was definitely trying to figure out, like, all right, how do I position this 1K in the air for it to fly?
Yeah.
And her first couple of tosses were like, okay. And then she finally figured it out, and she just smacked the 64. Like, she looked super smooth. She knew it was a far throw. Everyone was excited. I feel like everyone, like, was rooting for Molina to throw, this far distance. Like, everyone was super happy. Like, everyone was clapping. Like, it was grand. It was exciting, and I'm very happy that she came out. Her and a lot of the French athletes came out, and they all just balled out. And it was just fun seeing so many different, athletes from different places just in one spot.
That's something we haven't even talked about. I think Dan went through the list. There was like athletes from like 15 different countries all competing at this event, and they were all national teams. Like, not just one athlete from a country. It was like multiple teams of athletes all competing together. Like, there were multiple French athletes. We even technically had dinner with her the other night as well. Very, very sweet woman. I can't wait to watch her throw again. It was awesome.
Yeah. Legend.
Absolute legend. Another athlete that we don't want to forget about from this competition was Veronica Freily, throwing 68.72. Like, these are marks that if this was 5 years ago, we'd be like blowing our mind about Veronica. But she just so happens to also be throwing in the greatest period of American women's discus throwing. And, 68.72 for Veronica. Like you said at the beginning of the show, Sam, or before the show, she was the most consistent athlete in this entire competition. Yeah. What'd you think of Veronica's throw?
Dude, she did this on her first attempt. Like, she actually balled out. For those who don't know Veronica's not that tall. Yeah. Like, she's on the shorter side, but she knows how to move and she knows how to attack the throw. I said this, like, I was most impressed with Veronica because obviously we knew what Val was going to do. Loggy popped off and, we saw what Jaden did, but I feel like Veronica was like, yo, like, don't forget about me. Like,
Yeah.
I also threw far last year. Like, I was also one of those top dogs, and she stayed in that competition.
Yeah.
You know, she threw 68. She had a couple 63s. She had a couple 65s. I think she went 66 as well. She was very consistent.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, that kind of got overshadowed a little bit. Like, that might be my opinion, but I feel like it did a little bit. But
I would agree.
She balled out. Like, I want to make sure that Veronica is highlighted. She balled out. She did her thing. She went 68 plus. Shout out Veronica.
I think the thing that's important to notice about these top 4 women for the United States is like they've kind of separated themselves from the pack. Where it's like Veronica, Jaden, Val made the Olympic team last year. Lagi was world champion 23. Like, they're really starting to show the gap between it's like us 4 and then you guys got to rise to our level.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to be very, very good for the whole event, knowing that there's actual depth. Like, Val has been so dominant on the international stage as a women's discus thrower for so long, but knowing that there's depth in her home country, that's like, it's not going to be a given that she makes that next world team. Like, she should, but they're only going to have 3 spots. So knowing that, like, it might take somewhere around 67 to 68 meters to make that team this year.
Yeah.
So even someone like Val can't just walk through a competition at nationals anymore. And just another view of Val's throw here from the broadcast coverage. The reaction is so cool. Like, they knew,
they knew it. Yeah.
And then we have the reaction with her and her coach Zeb. So if you're wondering why I looked off the side, the live results was not working at the time, so they were relying on me to look for the board of the result. The broadcast team, so that's why I kind of take it off Val for a second, try to find her. But incredible work by our production team. I love the reaction there. It's so, like, that's just so pure.
Yeah.
And then of course Sheldon found Val and got her autograph as well. Again, we need more of this in the sport. That's just so cool.
Yeah.
Adding the Olympic rings and 2-time Olympic champion.
Yeah, gotta let the world know. I mean, the world already knows, but, you know, gotta stamp it.
I think what's even cool about something like a signature is, like, for everyone, how many people had to change their signature because they had to change their distance.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about throwers who had big weekends, a guy that you and I have known for a few years in the Northeast, he's from Jersey. He comes up to garage strength meets a good amount. Robbie Oall throws 68.41. He set a new personal best earlier in the comp over 65 meters, and I missed his throw. So I go up to congratulate. He's like, "Oh, dude, 65." And he's like, "Actually, it's 68."
Yeah.
So he went 68.41 on his last throw. Robbie has been a believer of Ramona for years, and finally he got the mark he's been chasing here at Ramona for years. I've always really liked Robbie's technique, so to me, I'm like, he earned this.
Yeah,
like, he's been in this for so long.
100%.
Robbie is if you ever have the opportunity to meet Robbie, such a nice dude. And dude, honestly, the technique on this throw is so legit.
So good. Yeah, he's so smooth. He's so quick. Like, whenever I think of, like, oh, how do I speed up my throw?
Yeah.
Or, like, how do I want to approach speeding up my throw? I always think of Robbie. Like, Robbie executes, you know, attacking the throw on the men's side better than I think anyone else. Like, he does, not anyone else, but I think he does a really, like, a phenomenal job at it. And this toss actually, so he was talking to Dane, and he was like, yeah, I believe the furthest throw by an Indian person is, I think it was like 66 and some change. And he threw 65, like, right before that. And he was like, yeah, like, I'm really trying to break that record.
Yeah.
And then he broke it. I think he went like 66 high. And then he was like, okay, like, I got it. And then just kept balling out. And, you know, on his last attempt went 68. And, like, it was just raw emotion. Like, he's popping off. Like, he runs. He jumps into Caleb's arms. Like, yo, Caleb, like, I love you. And, like, me and Dane are there. Like, you can see me in the background. Like, I'm losing my stuff. Like, I had to make sure, like, I went over and congratulate Robbie. Like, I met Robbie in New York, and, you know, this is before, I think maybe Robbie was throwing like 60 low. and I obviously I didn't throw 60 yet, but like we were there together trying to push, far throws, and obviously throughout the years, like he's been getting better and better and better, and I've been able to watch, I've been able to witness, and for him to do this phenomenal feat at Ramona was just like a very special thing for me, and I know for Dan and for everyone who was involved with that, toss. It was just like, yes, like we love to see it.
So the hits just keep on hitting as we move on to another national record. This time it's a Greek national record with Demetrius Pavitus throwing over 65 meters. He had 2 throws over 65 meters in this competition. Yeah. 65.09 to start off the Sunday comp. Sam, like, just the hits keep on hitting, like I said, just more and more PRs. I think his PR before this is the Greek national record was like 64 meters. This is your footage from your phone, correct?
From my iPad, yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think on this throw? What'd you think on this toss for Pavitus?
Yeah, dude was balling. Like, he opened well, and I feel like each round he was just heating up until he got to the point where he established that new Greek record. And I just feel like just watching him, like he's his technique, like his start's a little different, but like he makes it work like really, really well. And like I said, like he was heating up, he was attacking each throw, and it led to a new record.
Yeah. Honestly, one thing I'll say about him, and he kind of moves like the way that you and I really like to see discus stars. Super long.
Yeah.
Very just like clearly gets a lot of stretch on the discus. Yeah. Gets a lot of pull on it. I'll say this. So he threw this in Ramona. I think he could 100% throw farther, like in a stadium.
Absolutely. And I had a conversation with Timon about this, and it's like, obviously we all know, like, we came to Ramona for big PRs, but right. Essentially all this meet or this competition, all it's going to do is just going to set these athletes up, and myself included, psychologically.
Yes.
Because as soon as you see you throw a far toss, it's like, all right, now I know I can do it. Like, it's something that I'm fully capable of. Yes, I threw it and win, but it's like I know what I felt with my technique for it to go far. And, he's definitely one of those guys where it's like he knew what he had to do in the circle to throw a new record, and he's going to keep building on this, and we're probably going to see him go this far, later in the season.
And also, how many people, like, I think if Ramona proves anything out, how many people did we see throw far that haven't thrown far before at Ramona, follow it up with huge marks at championship meets after Ramona?
Dude, almost everyone who threw far last year did it again later in the season.
Yep.
I understand all the people's critiques, like, oh, you're throwing in a hurricane and all this. Like, duh, that's why we went there. But, like, that's all it is. We're just getting a PR. Like, Timon brought up a good point. It's like, this throwing at Ramona isn't going to win you a medal. You got to show up on that day and earn yourself a medal. We come here just to set up the rest of our season, and that's literally it. So, like, everyone who has an issue with it, I'm sorry, but that's what we went there for. We went there to throw the discus far. And to all the people who were, very supportive of it, we did this for you guys. We made these videos for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. We're going to continue putting stuff out there for you guys. And, everyone who doesn't, I hope you guys enjoyed it too, because we did it for you guys as well. Just next time, just keep your comments to yourself. Just plain and simple.
Or just make full-on YouTube videos and then I'll comment on them, because I appreciate any and all media coverage. Thank you, Jumpman. Thank you, Total Running Productions. So for another video, dude, I freaking love this guy. I didn't get a chance to talk to him much last year, but man, oh man, Nick Percy, salt of the earth, good freaking dude. Has a second best meet of his life, 67.04, just a little short of the A standard for world championships. Just a fine Scottish lad, Nick Percy. Love that he got a big throw like this. I literally go up to him, I was like, oh, you're looking good, man. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm skinny. I haven't lifted weights. And he literally just started self-degrading in front of me the second I see him. I was like, oh, well, okay. And then he goes and throws 67 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you see on Nick's throw here? But good dude. Good.
Yeah.
Shout out Nick Percy.
Absolutely great dude. We actually played rock, paper, scissors, best 2 out of 3 on our pre-meet practice. So he actually beat me. Nick, I got you next year, but Nick is one of those throwers where, like, I think he has really good technique. Like, he
does.
I feel like everywhere he goes, his throw actually looks the same, like in a good way, like in a really good way. And I know this was. I think he did a little bit better last year, but like it wasn't far off. So like, that's a good indicator that he's still in good shape. You know what I mean? So it's like.
I think his PR from last year is only about 70 centimeters, so it's like he's within a meter of his best.
He's not that far off.
Yeah.
So I definitely think he's in good shape, and I know he's one of those guys who's really going to pick it up.
Yeah, I think if he I'm not sure exactly where he's at physically in terms of like if he's injured or not, but like he says, like he's got a long time before Worlds. That's the other thing we always mention on the Throw Show right now. It's only April.
Mm-hmm.
Worlds is in 5.5 months. So like keeping that in mind, like everyone hitting these big marks, there's still way, way more time for these guys to even throw further.
Absolutely.
Oh man, but the new to Throws University, new to Garage Strength thrower, Mauricio Ortega has the second best throw of his life at 69 meters even in this competition. Mauricio comes to us from Colombia. We've had the pleasure to get to know him since actually it was Indoor Nationals when you and I did coverage that we first met him, and we had lunch with him in a Mexican restaurant. Very, very good dude. He threw 70 meters, I think, back in 2019. So that was 6 years ago to come out to Ramona, hit the second best throw of his life. Mauricio is one of those guys who he's very consistent. He shows up at every major and somehow always like makes a final.
Yeah.
And I think with the different stuff he's been doing with Dane, he's starting to get stronger. He's starting to make some slight technique changes. It yielded another big throw in his career at 69. What do you think of what he did here, and what do you think he could do later on in the season?
Yeah, dude, like he's another one who just lined it up and just really attacked the throw. Obviously, I have the privilege to train with Mauricio, so I get to see like his day-to-day training.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, like, I don't know if he thinks this way, but I definitely think this way. Like, we have battles, like 100%. Like, he'll go throw, and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna go try to outdo this next throw. And I definitely think like we all do it. Like, we all battle against each other, but it's all healthy. And it's like, because we did that, we can go to a competition like this and just attack a throw.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think because we prepared that way, because we practiced that way, he was able to go out and just not think and just attack. And like you said, with him working with Dane now, like he's getting stronger. He's getting more mobile because his Olympic lifts need a lot of work. But he does everything right to throw far. And, I'm ecstatic that he was able to throw 69 and, he's going to go to Tokyo with this toss.
Yeah, you're right. He did.
Yeah.
He made the championship standard.
Yeah, he made the standard. He's going. So I'm, super happy for him. He's a great guy. He's a great teammate. He's a great competitor. And, I want to see him continue to throw far.
Good guy, Mauricio. Shout out, Mauricio. And there's another angle. This is actually from a broadcast feed. I believe his agent made this video, but you kind of get to see a little bit of the flight here.
Do we get to see Dane pop off on this one? Because I missed it.
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah. You kind of see it.
Yeah.
Dude, that dude jumped like 10 feet in the air. It was actually funny.
Yeah, dude. And this is another thing I want to say about this event. Just the amount of like joy and like camaraderie where every time someone hit a big throw, everyone goes up to the other person to greet him and like give him a big hug.
Yeah.
That's the thing that like people don't understand about how great this event is the aspect of like everybody wants the other people to throw far because it just lifts the spirits of the whole competition. And like once you see, it's like what you said about like attacking the throw and you kind of compete in practice.
Mm-hmm. You
see one guy throw far, you're like, I'm gonna throw far too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
literally.
And you're just like, okay, I'm in a good headspace. I know that people are able to throw far. It's time to raise the bar a bit to match that or go beyond.
Absolutely.
Oh man, we just keep getting more and more throws. So this guy actually opened up the final competition with this throw, and this was Steven Richter of Germany, which by the way, the freaking Germans came to play.
That's facts.
So of the all four Germans threw over 69 meters in PRs at this competition. And he was the low end at 69.11. So Steven Richter
threw a little bit further. So this was, I think, round 1 or early round.
This was round 1, yeah.
He went 69, like 63 later in the competition.
Damn.
Yeah, he actually went bigger in the competition.
And he was still fourth of the Germans.
Yeah, it's actually crazy.
Because we saw Mika Sosna earlier go 70.05. Well, Mika backed it up in this other competition, throwing just over 70 meters again. I think it was like 70.01. And, he goes 69.11, 69.63. Like, the one thing you can say about the Germans is they just all have really, really good technique.
Yeah.
I think the thing I'll say about it, though, is like we don't really see them any non-reverses out of Germany anymore. They all kind of switch to reverse.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like an American influence now on German throwing.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
We should ask them, but nah, I mean they're definitely transitioning into reversing, and they do it really well.
Yeah, they do.
They do it really, really well. Like all four of the Germans, they all balled out.
Anything you guys say about Steven's technique?
I like it. It's smooth. Everyone who threw far.
Yeah.
That's the commonality. They're all smooth.
Right.
They all prepared for this moment, and they got the job done.
Great throw, Steven. And dude, this was like another one of those emotional throws that if you know this person's history, just kind of gets you in the feels.
Mm-hmm.
So Lawrence Okoye set his personal best almost 13 years ago in 2012. I think at the age of like 22 or 23. He competes for Great Britain, but he was a rugby player turned discus thrower. Within only about 3-4 years of throwing, he threw 68 meters. And then after the London Olympics, he didn't have the meet that he was hoping for. So he was recruited to play in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And he played in the NFL on practice squads for years, didn't really move up to the position that he was hoping to in American football. So come 2018, 2019, he leaves the NFL, starts throwing again, and then just kind of keeps sticking with it. Had some like maybe lower years, had some big years. He was Commonwealth Games medalist and such. But then comes here as first meet in Ramona, first throw.
First toss, yeah.
First
toss,
throw at
PR.
Ramona. Goes over 70 meters, 70.76 to break the British record. His farthest throw in 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I made note of him made note to him at dinner. He threw 10 centimeters further than Robert Harding's PR, and Robert Harding was the discus thrower in the early 2010s. That guy did not lose for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he threw further than him from a non-reverse.
Yeah, dude. It was like a movie. It's like you couldn't ask for anything better, Lawrence, like, to not PR for 12, almost 13 years, like, that is crazy work. And it's just, like, one of those things where it's just, like, it was so good to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, you could see the emotion once he saw the distance. You could see Sam hug him. You could see Denny hug him. Like, there was a lot in that toss.
Yeah.
And it was just, like, it was one of those things where it was awesome to see. Like, he was super proud. He was super happy. And obviously, like, when he was talking about it during dinner, it's like you could tell, like, oh, like finally, I finally did it, you know?
And that was the thing. So I was right up there close with him. Like, you know, when he's walking out of the ring, I was getting, you know, my shots. And when the number comes up, you saw it just there. He just like collapses. Like he's just like overwhelmed with emotion, realizing like what you just said. After all these years, he finally did it. And what's cool about this is like Lawrence has like it's been a long comeback for Lawrence. You always see like these little glimmers of like, oh, he's ready to like finally like rip one and like start throwing high 60s again at these majors.
Mm-hmm.
And like he always have these glimmers of brilliance. But now I think he's finally tapping into like his athletic potential, because that's the thing. Like if you meet Lawrence in person, that dude, I don't know how to say, he's a brick shit house.
He's massive.
Like this dude is one of the largest, and I don't even know how much body fat this guy has. He's just like, I don't know how to describe, just a freaking monster of a person.
He's massive.
Good dude though.
Amazing dude. Great soul.
But what do you think of his non-reverse, especially because we don't really see male non-reversers much anymore?
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously he's been doing it for a very long time, and I actually reached out to him I want to say like a month and a half ago, and I was like, yo, like, do you mind if I make a video? Because I was watching him do a non-reverse, and I was like, dude, like, it's smooth, and he was cranking tosses, and I was like, yo, do you mind if I make a video about you doing the non-reverse? And he was like, yeah, like, go ahead, no issue. And I was like, all right, sweet. But like, just, you know, he does everything right, and then he just sticks the finish and just smashes it forward. And like, I want to say, like, this wasn't unprecedented. I think that's the word. Yeah. Like, I want to say through 67, 66, 68, like a couple weeks ago. So, like, he was in really good shape to throw far. And I'm pretty sure that's why they came. Because, like, they were all in good shape. So, it was, like, one of those things where it was just bound to happen.
Yeah. No, that was phenomenal work by Lawrence. And it's crazy for me to think about that. You know how we were saying that you and I made a prediction for this comp?
Mm-hmm.
We said last episode that there were going to be 5 guys to break 70 meters. Lawrence got 5th in this competition.
Yeah.
Oh, let's watch some of these other 70-meter throws. Why don't we? But before we get to that, like we were talking about the emotion from Lawrence. This is a perfect summary. Like, head in the hands. Like, dude, this man is on the verge of tears. And, like,
just so
dude,
happy.
Like, you could just see, like, so Matthew's been throwing against him for probably a decade now at, like, various Commonwealth games.
Yeah.
And you can just tell, like, that's from, like, years of freaking, like, knowing each other. And, like, the embrace is just, like, there's love there, you know? There's, like, a level of camaraderie that you have with your competitors that, like, only this person knows what it's like to go through this level of heartache and struggle to achieve a result at this level.
You know what I think is kind of funny? Maybe it's this camera angle. Like, we said Denny got bigger. Like, Denny's big.
Yeah.
Lawrence looks so much, like, more stacked.
Yeah.
This is no offense to Denny, even though you said I have small hands. Like, Lawrence looks massive. Like, he looks big. Like, put that into perspective. Like, that dude is big. Like, Denny is big. Lawrence is big.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just Denny's back is just rock solid.
Boom.
Sam Mattis is a big guy. These guys make Sam look like dwarf him. And another 70-meter toss as Clemens Proofer, who came pretty close to medaling at the Olympics last year, throwing 71 meters for the first time. I've really liked Clemens' technique for a long time. He's been throwing. You know what's funny is I think I remember Clemens throwing back when he was a youth athlete. Like, oh gosh, all the way back in like 2012, 2013. He used to throw with another guy from Germany who was a glider, who I thought was going to be the next David Stroll, Patrick Mueller. But like his career didn't really shape out that well. But Clemens just kept sticking with it, and you know, walking away with a 71-meter toss. I guess I look at these throws and I'm just like, how much farther can these guys go? Like, I see it, I'm like, I think Clemens could go 72 plus.
Probably.
But like, I guess I'm curious, like, as a discus thrower, seeing all the Germans compete, like, do you think there is still that German style of throwing in their discus that's like different than maybe the Americans?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have a good system, especially at this like higher level where like I don't want to say they all move the same, but they all clearly have something that's like, yo, it's working.
Yeah.
I feel like in the U.S., we're definitely improving. Like, we're definitely having more guys throw, further, like the 65-plus range.
Yeah.
But obviously, I feel like these guys, kind of had that in their back pocket and was just like, yeah, like, we're just waiting for the perfect opportunity to show it off. But I feel like just internationally, like, everyone's getting a lot better, like, progressively better. Like, I feel like everyone kind of has their own style, but the core concepts they're all doing, and that's why they are throwing far. That's why we had 5 guys go over 70 meters.
5 dudes. Good Lord. And we're still not done. We still have 3 more to go. Like, our boy,
Yep.
we were talking about his 70.08 earlier on in the show, but just like Taman says, woof, woof. He's got that dog in him. He went 71-27, first round.
Yep.
Which I think that was something I want to bring up about the 70.08 for Sam. Sam is not usually a late competition thrower. He consistently hits really good marks at big meets, first or second round. And he's done that at almost every national he's done. He did it here. I wonder if it's because he knew this was like the big comp that he knew he needed to go out swinging. But he walks away 71-27, 1 centimeter further than John Powell. They're putting him at number 2 all time on the American all time list. Whether or not, I don't know if he throws 71-40 if that gets him the American record, because World Athletics and the USATF are very like up in the air of what the record is, if it's over 72 or if it's 71-39. But dude, I watched this and I was like, I thought technically this is a stronger throw than his 70.08.
Yeah.
What'd you think of his 71-27?
Yeah, well, for a little more context, this throw was right after Lawrence.
It was right after
Lawrence. It immediately
yeah.
followed Lawrence's toss, so I felt like because Lawrence went big, that kind of just energized Sam to attack it more. Like, that dude attacked the toss. Like, that's the only way I explain it. Like, he went in there and he attacked it better than any throw I've ever seen him attack a throw. And, the result showed. He went 71-27. I think Sam, he has really good technique. He does, he holds the discus a little weird. But outside of that, like, dude balled out. He came and he threw far.
I personally kind of like want to talk to his dad and see like what his dad thinks of this throw, because like the history of like, because his dad is such a throws historian.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking like what he thinks of him throwing further than John Powell, throwing further than Wolfgang Schmidt, and like being so close to the American record, like. With Sam, like, I'm just going to push him being like, you got to come back next year because you got to get that American record. Absolutely. Like, I want to see him get the American record so bad. But yeah, dude, like, this was a good moment because, like, watching it and just knowing Sam since, like, 2016, like I said earlier, and seeing his journey to, like, finally hitting them, like, because he's had very long gaps between PRs. Like consistently like 4 or 5 years in between his PRs. So like to see this come around at this time, Sam is in the absolute best shape of his life. I've never seen him look better. I've never seen him look technically better. He is close to maxing out all of his lifts right now. And now he's like finally getting into that age group where it's like, okay, he's in his early 30s. We've seen a lot of throwers, discus throwers in particular, hit their peak in their early mid-30s. Meanwhile, so he's probably going to ride this peak out for another couple years. I guess I'm just curious, like, what do you think his top end is?
Dude, that dude's going to go crazy. He might actually finish as the greatest American discus thrower.
Gosh, I hope so.
Yeah, like, he's going to go crazy.
And this dude just he came in here with a goal.
Yeah.
So Matthew Denny, as we saw earlier, threw 10 centimeters short of what at the time was the world record, throwing 74.25. He comes out. He knew, like Alekna, which we'll see very shortly, broke his first world record round one.
Mm-hmm.
So Matthew knew he like had to come out, and I think this was before Mykolas threw the 74. But like his first round throw, Matthew did not have a good one. He only threw like 65, and then he like slowly creeped into it, but he kept chasing. By this point, I believe Mykolas already threw the 75.56.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out and throws 74.78, which is, I believe that's 43 centimeters further than the previous world record. We talked to him at dinner, and he seemed kind of bummed about the whole thing. What do you think of someone throwing becoming the second best all time,
Mm-hmm.
breaking what would have been a world record only an hour earlier?
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is like, as a competitor, how would you feel from a competition like this? Like, is it a mixed bag, or is it more like, nah, like...
I think it's a mixed bag.
Okay.
I generally think it's a mixed bag because it's like, dude, I just threw 70, almost 75 meters.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things where it's like, I truly think he came in here to break the world record. Like, I generally believe that he believed that he was going to do it. And
Yeah.
I actually thought this throw was the throw to beat it.
Yeah.
Like you said, he opened up like, okay. Like, I'll be honest, like, okay. But each throw, he was attacking it harder and harder and harder and just progressively, throwing further and further. And I was like, okay, like, you don't have much time left.
Yeah.
And, like, he attacked this throw so hard, and I was like, that's it. And then once they actually put the result up, I was like, oh, man, no. Like, I generally thought that Denny was going to do it. But I don't want to take anything away from that performance. Like, dude balled out. He balled out twice. He had the best sixth throw progression out of everybody ever.
Yeah.
And then came back a couple days later and threw this.
Well, he is the first man to throw 74 meters in back-to-back meets, if that counts for something.
That is valid.
Like, I guess what I'm curious is, like, when you're throwing this far, right? Like, he's 3.5 meters past Sam at this point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the drop-off's going to be? Like, do you think he could throw 71 to 72 in stadium?
Yes.
Yep.
Dude, he threw 69 in the Olympics.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Like, let's be real. Like, Denny has been one of the most consistent performers at major championships for the past couple years.
Yeah.
This dude has been in really, really good shape. Like I said before, like...
And he has hit his national records in stadium.
Yes. Like,
consistently.
These dudes are coming down to Ramona just to see discuses fly far.
Yeah.
Right? It's just to set them up for later in the season because they know they can do it.
Yeah.
So I thoroughly believe that, yes, he will throw 70 later this year in a stadium. Stamp.
Well, I said 71, 72. You think?
71, yes, stamp it. I'm stamping it. I'm saying it. And if he doesn't, that's on him. That's not on me. But I believe that all these guys are going to be in really good shape for the later this season. We've already seen the evolution. Throws are getting a lot better, and they're throwing a lot farther. So I believe it.
So before we get into the world records, I have a follow-up question to that with Denny. Does it take 70 to medal in Tokyo with the current crop of talent throwing right now?
In a perfect world, yes.
Okay.
In a world that I want, yes.
In Sam's world?
I'm saying 3 guys go over 70.
Okay. Hey, we were accurate with this comp. And one thing I'll say about what you said about Denny, right? One thing you said about, Denny, you thought he was going to go even further. Caleb came up to me like 3 days prior, and he said, Denny's going to go 75. And this was before he went 74-25. This was like Wednesday when we got there. He comes up to me and he's like, yo, I'm watching Denny. He's going to go 75.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, he just went 70 for the first time at this facility like a week prior with the 72-meter throw leading into this weekend. So I thought like another 3-meter jump. But I'll be honest, like watching him throw, like I think if Matthew actually catches one, he's going to go 76.
Absolutely. Dude, that dude was smooth like butter in the circle. And
I
he
love
was
his
just
technique.
attacking it, dude. Like, he's going to throw far.
Yeah. So now we get to see the first world record of the weekend, and that was Mykolas Alekna going 74.89. Round one.
Casual.
Completely casual. Literally no reaction. Gave me a thumbs up, and that was kind of it.
Light work, no reaction.
I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nah, I truly believe, and I never asked him, but I truly believe that he came in to further his world record, and he alluded into it in an interview afterwards where he was like, dude, like I knew if I didn't show up, Denny was going to break the record. He said that.
That's fair.
He actually said that. And
yeah. And well, he's right. He would have.
Yeah, he would have. Denny would have broke the record if he didn't show up. And I think knowing that, and I guess having that pressure, like he knew, like, okay, like I have to ball out.
Right.
And I don't think he intentionally did that or like had that mindset for that first throw. I think the first throw was kind of just like easy.
Yeah.
But it was like, we all know Alekna is really proficient with his style of throwing, like his style of technique. That dude is, I can't even explain. Like he gets so long and he catches the discus so far back that he can just smash. And I feel like because he was taking that toss like super easy, he was able to just throw it really far. Like we said it earlier, like some of the best throws are the throws where you're not even trying.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was this throw.
Yeah, and we're going to get into, his 75-56 right here. I think my question to you as a high-level elite discus thrower, do you see a difference in technique on these, or do you more see just a difference of release angle and then, therefore, conditions take over at that point? Because, yes, of course, he threw 75-56. That is now the new world record. He's the first man to ever throw 75 meters.
Yes.
Second person, though. Because the women's world record is still 76.80.
Yeah. I think his first throw was like truly just technique, just everything was perfect. I think this second throw, the actual world record, I think was aided a little bit by the wind.
Yes.
More than any other toss in this competition.
I would agree with that. And we didn't capture it on the live stream, unfortunately. But if you look at some of the, including Sam's video here, so what happens is he lets it go. He finishes a throw early. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't just him throwing down right sector.
No, this was
that would have been a sector foul in any other conditions. But we knew that the crosswind was so powerful. Mm-hmm. Literally, I remember filming it, keeping my camera on him, and which you'll see this video shortly, like so you can actually get a better idea of the technique on this throw. The discus is flying out down right sector. Keeps flying. It starts turning a little bit, but literally everyone, you can even see that guy doing it too in the video right here that we're watching. Everyone started taking their hand out like, stay in,
get back in.
And Alekna did the same thing, and it like just at the very end topples over and then curves back in and just stays and gets within 3 feet of the sector line.
Yeah.
And as soon as it landed, I was like, it's in. Because we knew it's like once the flight was so perfectly down right that once it came back in, we knew it was going to get even more distance.
Yeah.
What was your thought? So I guess take me back to you watching as a viewer. Mm-hmm. Alekna starts the comp at 74.89, right? What was your thought when you saw that world record pop up round one?
That dude's a GOAT. Like, let's be real. Like, I was okay. Like, he just set the tone. Like, he set the tone for the competition. And I was like, all right, it's really just him and Denny.
Yeah.
Him versus Denny. And like I said, that first toss was like super easy, world record. All right. I was like, okay, let's see what he does, you know, following that. His second toss, I think, was a foul. And I think his third toss was the 74 that was later deemed a foul.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it was a foul.
I forget why.
I don't know if it landed out of the sector
It was something.
It was on the verge of being a sector foul.
It was something. But, you know, this toss, I know people were like, well, this proves our point. It was the win. It was the win. Like, we're not claiming it wasn't the win.
Yeah.
But, like, dude threw a world record on his first toss. Like, let's be real. He had it in him. But I think this toss, like, realistically, like, it was a sector foul. Like, it wasn't a sector foul. It was going to be a sector foul.
Yeah.
And the win was like, nah, like, I got you, and blew it back in. But, like,
someone was on his side that day.
Does that take away from this dude being the greatest discus thrower ever? No.
Well, that's the thing. He has thrown 71 and 70 meters consistently in stadium. Yeah.
Dude, I'm pretty sure he went 70 in stadium at Cal before this competition. So, like,
yes, he did.
Everyone's like, oh, let's see what happens when he's in stadium. Do you even watch the sport? Like, do you know who you're talking about?
This kid threw 69 meters at the European Championships to win at 19 years old.
Yes.
Like, seriously, who are we talking about right now?
Literally, like, oh, man, I could go
like,
on.
People don't do that.
No.
I think people forget that he did do that. He was 19 and threw 69 in stadium to win a major championship.
Yes.
I guess the last thing I'll say is, like, is it surreal to think that we've witnessed the first 75-meter throw and all the 74s between you and I? Like, is that weird that we saw that live and we both filmed them?
We filmed the four furthest tosses in men's discus history.
Yeah, we have.
Think about that.
Well, no, we filmed 1, 2, 3, 5.
5.
Because 74, 35.
Think about that. That is crazy.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah, like,
it's like when I saw the number so I want to say this. So I was on these things called comms as the as the guy who's filming the athletes and their reactions, stuff like that. So I'm talking to base, right? And these guys that are working at base, they don't know anything about throwing. Nothing against them. Like, they're broadcast guys, right? So the whole weekend I was kind of educating them, like, yo, just so you know, you guys are probably going to witness history, and there's a very good chance that the world record is going to go down. Like, what do you mean a world record? So I was, like, kind of describing it to them. And, like, I told them, like, after the first one, I was like, yo, guys, that's a world record, world record, world record. And I'm, like, yelling it to them. But when I saw 75 on the board, and we'll get to this here, like, gosh, only the double thumbs is all we see. It's just crazy to me.
Because dude knew he was going to do it.
I knew he was going to do it, but I'm still, like, grasping, like, his reaction is just so mellow.
He's a stoic dude. Like, let's be real.
So was his dad.
Yeah,
his
they're
dad
both
was super
stoic dudes. Like, you watch him in any competitions, he's just like that. That's probably the most excited, like, we've ever seen him.
Like, there's two types of throwers. In discus, you're either going to have a Mykolas Alekna or you're going to have a Robert Harding / Gerd Cantor, who will just scream their heads off when they get a good release.
Yeah.
I remember when Alekna beat Cantor in, like, 2005 Worlds and broke the championship record for the first time. He was the first guy to throw 70 meters at World Championship. He literally walks out of the ring. It was his last throw. He was behind. Gerd Cantor was ahead of him at, like, high 68. Throws 70 last throw. Just kind of hangs out there, looks at the board, just 70 pops up. He's like, and then just walks away. And he's just like, I don't know if his dad instilled that in him or if that's just his natural state of being, but it's like, dude, like, I think what's also cool is, like, seeing the flight here. It's just, it's so, I told Mac, so I walked up to Mac Wilkins. And I was like, Mac, is there anything prettier than watching a 70-meter discus fly? And he's like, no, there isn't. I was just like, It's such a thing of beauty, and I'm so glad like the broadcast team were able to pull this together and we were able to bring this to the people. It's so much better than my, you know, Samsung Galaxy or Samsung S22 Ultra as a live stream.
Yeah. But it's like one of those things where it's like everyone's like, oh, like he had no reaction.
That's just him.
That's him, but that's all you saw.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he was very excited. Like,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure if you click on the other video, you can kind of see, like, he's like...
Oh, he's very happy.
Yes, like, he's like... You know, he's kind of with us where he's like, yo, get back in, get back in, back in. Like, he has a little smirk there. You can see it right there. There's emotion. You know, he has a little smirk. He was like, I kind of got a little help with that one. But it's like, yo, like... And then after, you know, he goes back to like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm calm, I'm collected. But he's smiling right there. He's showing emotion. Like, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, dude. And like, you can see everyone coming up to him. They're patting him on the back. Like, he's all happy. Like, it's like, dude, like at this point as a competitor, you're like, you already broke the world record once. Like, we don't know. Like, yeah, congrats. But it's like.
Also, the competition wasn't over.
No. And Matthew
You know what I
very
mean?
well could have come back. I guess I want to talk about this right here. Now you got a clear view of his technique. I will say this. I do kind of like this throw more than his last year's 74-35. I'll tell you why. I like how wide he is at the front and how big his stance is to work into his finish. I know he finished early. That's why it was almost a sector foul.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, like, the positioning he has in the ring, I just feel like he used all of it and didn't, and I have to watch this back a few times. I feel like he didn't maybe jump as much as he did last year, but you can tell me if I'm wrong on that.
I think the techniques are very, very similar between last year and this year, but I know where you're going with at the front where it was less jumpy and it's more like I'm grounded and I'm finishing forward. I can agree with that, but I feel like general core concepts it's all the same.
Right.
Like he has that more linear drive into the middle, but he has that high point which allows him to catch, you know, the discus super deep, and then he just works it all the way around and just smashes forward. I
think it'll be interesting to see. This is where in the next few months we're going to get all the data from Christoph Kipp and his team at Marquette.
Mm-hmm.
They had all their cameras around this year filming it. I'm so curious to see what data he's going to get from not only Mykolas, but like Matthew, Sam, Clemens. Like, what are going to be the consistent variables that all these guys are doing that causes, and granted, yes, I know wind changes and that's a variable too, but like what causes an athlete to be a 70-meter thrower? He's going to find, he has so much data to work with.
Yeah.
Like,
he got a feast of data.
7th place through 69 meters in this competition.
Yeah.
But I hope that this video can help people. I need to share this and probably put it on YouTube because this is probably the best angle to see Alekna's technique.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like when I found this video and realized like, oh my gosh, I actually have the video of him and you can see him in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
I was so happy because I felt like that was the benefit to last year's video was so many angles of that world record throw that people could learn from.
Yeah.
So I'll have to share this other places so people can really, really dissect it.
Yeah.
That was the weekend at Throwtown. This was a very, very long show. Way longer than Sam and I wanted it to be honest. But there was just so much to cover.
Yeah, we want to share our story, want to share our experience, give you a little more context, give you a little more back story, you know, just so you guys know, like, what we experienced. Because, like, obviously, those who were able to tune in, like, you were able to see it, but that's all you got. Yeah. Now we're here just telling you a little bit of, like, what happened behind the scenes and, you know, give a little more context, you know, so you guys can change your mind about the win. No, I'm just kidding. But,
but before we close out, I do want to get, like, your thoughts on this, Sam. Forget all the throwing specific, like, the sporting aspect of it. Like, the amount of people that we got to spend time with over the weekend, the amount of people that you got to meet, the amount of people I got to meet. What was your favorite, like, out of competition moment that you got to experience?
Dude, honestly, I think just being in one location with so many different great athletes of different events obviously all throws, but like we had great javelin throwers there. We had great hammer throwers there. We had great shot putters there. And obviously we had great discus throwers.
Yeah.
But it was just like being in the same spot with all these people that I follow personally on my Instagram or people that I've watched on YouTube. Like, it is the coolest thing. And you know what's even cooler is they're all great people.
Yeah.
Like, when I was competing and I threw my 60, I had so many of these pro athletes, you know, congratulating me and like cheering me on. Like, I'm, you know, just an average person. You know, I'm just an average dude compared to what these guys, you know, have done.
We're mortals in comparison.
We're regular people, but like they never saw it that way.
Yeah.
And they treated me just as like another thrower. Like they treated me good. And it was just like really cool, you know, to see like all of these legends and goats and greats of our sport just be like, yeah, like we're just, you know, we're cool. Like we're just a regular person.
I mean, I think that's the thing that's important to understand is like these athletes and really any athlete, I think this is the nice thing about throwers is like they're kind of off to the side in a lot of track media. So they're not really used to the level of exposure that maybe even they saw this weekend, ironically enough. And it meant a lot to know like how many people came up to me thanking us for the stream, thanking people for everything we do in terms of throws content. Even, I'll be honest, I don't even know if I responded correctly like when Val said that she watched the throw show because I was so taken aback by being told that by a 2-time Olympic champion. Like, she is the GOAT of American discus throwing, men or women. She's the absolute best. I don't think anyone can deny that. Mm-hmm. And like having an athlete like that come up to me and say, hey, thank you, I watched the throw show, I like froze. And I was like, well, oh, congratulations on your throw, but thank you. And I'm just like, and I didn't know where else to go. Like, I was like nervous and I didn't continue the conversation. She probably thought I was awkward as hell, which is fine. I'm kind of an awkward guy. But like, I'm curious, like, I know you had that moment prior to me. Like, what did you think even when she saw that she watches this show?
Yeah. So
because I think that's like to me like a microcosm of like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, after she had that big toss, I went up and I was like, I want to make sure that, you know, I congratulate her. Like,
right,
I met her the day before and she was super cool, and I was like, all right, I want to make sure before I leave, I want to congratulate her. And that's where she was like, you know, thank you. And she's like, thank you for everything that you do. You know, I want you to know, like, I do watch the throw show. And I was like, oh, like, that is cool. Like,
yeah.
She didn't have to tell us that she watched the throw show. Even if she did watch the throw show, she didn't have to tell us, you know, like, obviously we just share our opinions, but like, it's like one of those things where it's like,
and sometimes our opinions are incorrect.
Sometimes our opinions are incorrect.
And sometimes they're very correct.
Yeah. You know, sometimes they are correct. But it was just like really cool. It's like, yo, like she watches it and she acknowledges it. And it's like, it just makes everything that we do so much, you know, more worth it. Because it's like, we want to, you know, provide education to, you know, a bunch of athletes, you know, athletes who don't have coaches and athletes who have coaches and just want to further their education. But we also want to provide, you know, visuals to these bigger competitions. Because, like, having big competitions but no, like, visual, like, it's lame.
Yeah.
So we wanted to provide that for, you know, this competition and just everything that we do. Like, we want to share it to the world. And, you know, for someone like that stature to be like, hey, like, I tune in.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I'll just add this, like, personally, because this show in particular has evolved through the years. Like, I remember when I joined the Throws University team with Dane and Trevor after I graduated college in 2018. I didn't really know what they were trying to do with it, and they wanted to start this like podcast thing, and they call it the Throw Show. And we did it for a little bit, but didn't really like, you know, we had a few cool interviews. Then when I started up more full-time with Garage Strength, we wanted to do more with Throw Show, and we turned it into a video react show. Mm-hmm. And I thought it would be cool, like, hey, let's, you know, there was another channel doing something similar at the time for their own sport. It was actually Weightlifting House News Show. And I thought, let's just bring that to throwing and do it with the Throw Show. So Trevor and Dane did that show for about 2 to 3 years. Then you were brought onto the Throws U team, and then you replaced Trevor. And then after just way too many inconsistent scheduling dates, and Dane being at the Olympics, I was like, hey, just let me fill in for a few shows. And then Dane gave me the keys to allow me to take on the show full time. And that meant a lot to me at the time. It means even that much more to me now following this weekend, knowing that like I wasn't that great of a thrower. Like I threw 17 meters 2 times. I was a D3 thrower, and to know that I have been a part of this sport since I was like 8 years old, and to be hosting a show like this, and to know that some of the greatest athletes in the history of our sport like watch it, are entertained, but also younger athletes who we even met at the Akron competition who watch it because they are so involved in throwing. They want to learn about it, but they also want to be entertained by it. And to know that you and I are there to kind of provide, that story, that context, but also maybe that certain level of entertainment. I probably sound a little raspy now because it's something that we don't actively think about. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you're in media, you can't help but just see numbers on screen. So when you actually get to see those people behind the numbers, it kind of makes you feel a certain way that's hard to describe.
Yeah.
So I think the way I want to end this show is because I feel like what the Throwtown weekend proved is a real coming together, a synergy of everyone across not just the United States, but the entire world, that all came together in one place to celebrate our sport that everyone there loves. Like everyone in that venue was there because they love the sport of throwing.
Absolutely.
And they wouldn't want to do anything else. So I think just to kind of close out, like if you're a thrower, if you're a coach and you've watched the throw show, you've watched it grow over the last few years, you've been watching Sam and I the last few months since we started up in 25. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the live stream. Thank you for supporting throwers. And I think what I want to say is please keep supporting throwers. Like keep watching these videos, follow their Instagrams, follow their TikToks. A few of the throwers are now starting YouTube channels. Follow them. Like in my mind, a rising tide lifts all ships. And the only way that we're going to see this sport grow and thrive and be in a better place than it was in years prior is if we all come together to show our support. Mm-hmm. So I guess I just kind of want to say thank you. Thank you for watching. And, Sam and I will see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.